an artist?
I'm Delta 2, from the underground system of New York City.
I'm confirming information about the artist, rapper, philosopher Rammellzee.
Of course.
I thought you'd know him. Answer these questions. Who made this art that you could only photograph in the dark?
Rammellzee.
Who looked like Voltron before Voltron?
Rammellzee.
Whose voice is this? And what does one call this style?
That's the gangster dub.
Who transformed subway writing into an art form and philosophy?
Rammellzee.
He says the only way to destroy a symbol is with a symbol. So in order to destroy a symbol, you have to arm a symbol.
Who dressed like a Renaissance gangster, samurai, alien, superhero?
Rammellzee.
Who made all these gods out of garbage and these weapons out of skateboards?
Rammellzee.
Who inspired a cult in Norway?
The cult of the Rammellzee.
Who danced with Madonna?
Rammellzee.
Who won a bet with Jean-Michel Basquiat that he could paint the Basquiat better than Basquiat?
That's the end of this conversation. All I remember was the police officer saying, no, your real name.
Rammellzee.
No. The name in your passport.
Rammellzee is an equation.
So it's not actually who, but what?
Equations. I know something about equations. Time and space are relative, but equations are universal.
I saw the implosion equation.
Rammellzee is an equation just like art is an equation.
Sorry. What was the question?
What made the equation work so well in New York in the late 1970s?
There was a certain energy that was going on in the city. There was people that were gravitating to New York.
New York was really cheap. You didn't have to spend a lot of time working. You could put a lot of that energy and time in your art.
But actually, Rammellzee
was from Far Rockaway, Queens.
His name is Rammellzee. I was like,
dude's name was wild. I was like, I gotta meet that.
And when I went out there, I'd never been so far from New York on a subway. Had to take the what to the what to the who. I was like, wow, this shit is not Far Rockaway. This is Rocky Faraway, man.
To have working class kids like Rammellzee stepping out of their comfort zone and stepping into someone else's culture and being inspired by that experience.
It was people's beginnings, and they're less concerned about their careers.
You have visual artists, you have all these different bands, all these different DJs in the same room and in conversation.
You know, I was hanging out with Rammellzee, and he played me the sound of the subway whooshing through the station, like cutting into Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain. And I remember being blown away by just the theatricality of that.
But you're as good as your last performance, so you better come out with both guns blazing.
He puts together all kinds of different disparate elements, which really represented medieval times, the alchemists.
They went back to the 14th century. They went back to work or iconoclast.
Wait, Rammellzee goes back to the 14th century?
Oh, you want to know about these letters, huh?
In the Middle Ages before the printing press, literacy was power. Monks were responsible for copying sacred manuscripts, and they began to illuminate and decorate the letters, to a point where their bosses, the Pope and the bishops, could no longer read them.
They had to switch it so they could be true to the motherfucking monks. Because the monks was the only niggas who could write this goddamn shit.
The monks, not the Pope, now had the power. When the monks realized what power they had, they hid the letter in the darkness of hell. Where it lay dormant for 400 years. Before the subway riders discovered it, by the dim light of its illumination, they began to armor it for a new future.
So that's why Rammellzee belongs to monk culture, not graffiti culture.
And you've been doing research. If you call it a graffiti, he's giving you a lecture.
There was a license to do more than one thing. If you wanted to be an actor and be in a band and be a painter, you did. Bebop was a perfect example of that.
Rammellzee versus K-Rod. So I was just staring at this label, trying to figure out what a Rammellzee was. Here is 10 minutes of one guy and 6 different voices.
This is the mellow they call the Rammellzee. I'm B-boy making with the creek. Master killer called the evil gorilla. Yes, break it up, just shake it up, a rodeo.
What the hell you doing, nigga? He said, yo, man, I'm trying to rap. We was on the train going back to Far Rockaway. He was making me laugh.
He considered himself an MC, which is debatable, but he did have a style.
We were all not sure the track was cooking, but it's all Rammellzee. He was cooking. It was so funny and playful and psychedelic and crazy.
Just making you jump like a little bit of dive, like a pride, just making you high.
He talked about diving a lot. He had a turn-of-the-century diver's helmet, just plopped in the middle of his living room.
But I'm not sure that's something you could actually use for diving.
Here's a guy who made my favorite rap song of all time. He's talking about building cities underwater.
When Ram heard the beat for the first time, he was not into rapping on it.
If you know anything about Ram, we like blowing shit up.
He wanted to rap on a hard driving beat. He was so many different things at the same time and oftentimes in conflict with each other.
I don't have to just be the person that you can see without these things on. 80s, I just was one face. Now I'm 21.
He's slipping in and out of identities and even genders.
But it wasn't contrived at all. It wasn't, I'm going to be this character now.
You can't crush me. I'm going to change my identity.
You Chaser the Eraser. Alpha Positive.
And the Duchess, we've heard of her.
This be the vocal well god. There's nothing you can do about the gamble.
And if you think of a piece like Gasolia,
It shoots 6 missiles. These missiles are turbine drive.
it's like Transformers done by a mad scientist.
He made so much shit from nothing.
Alchemically bringing trash to life, born of American disposability.
He had this universe inside of his head that he wanted to build.
You know, it's not like a musician, it's not a painter who only paints, it's a whole universe. And, you know, there's the obvious things, and he's got nothing to do with obvious.
He's well known on our planet. Why not yours?
It depends.
You get a lot more for your money if you experience him through his work than you would from somebody describing him.
He would open your mind to a world that you could have never thought of on your own.
So I came up with Gothic
Futurism.
Army letters.
Iconoclast panzerism.
In his costumes.
On his canvases.
And
in music.
He always wanted to be himself. It was since day one.
Even those who think that they know him don't really know him.
He was so busy in the process of creating his own universe. He was self-exiled.
As an artist, he wanted to be recognized, and yet he had this stage persona that he hid behind.
You just have to listen to everybody and put all the pieces together, and maybe you can get that 1,000-piece puzzle put together, but it's not going to be easy.
I think a lot of these are worlds he created. Doesn't mean they're not real.
Rammellzee. It's not a name.
Rammellzee's an equation.
Yes. Equations.
Just make it just bang. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Breeze rocking on the beat, breeze to rock the quick to make the break, get the down, the turn with the gangsta rock. Round, bell, pick a ball, making you rock. He's a hip with the hop, back with the grab, hip with the bam, just making you rock, just making you rock the house. ZZ is in the house. Rock steady, B-boys, to turn it out. Rock steady, B-boys, to turn it out, y'all.